Hello everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Indexer Office Hours. Today is the 30th of May, and this is IOH 109. I see a few new faces here, so I'll start off with the regular introduction. This is the town square for Graph ecosystem participants to come together and to discuss the most important and relevant topics for indexers. We love participation, and so during today's conversation, which will be an open one, there is a very short agenda. We would love to hear your voice. So if you would like to get involved in the conversation, please let me know. Unmute your mic. If you're having any issues unmuting your mic, let me know and I'll try and figure that out for you. You also have the text box in the corner where you can contribute. So yeah, we'd love to hear your voice. Just as a reminder, this is recorded and will be published onto public channels like YouTube. So if you're concerned about privacy, please bear that in mind. And with that, let's get into today's agenda. So I'm going to start off with the opening remarks. And for that, we have GRT podcast 118 with Marissa Posner. And here, Nick talks to Marissa, who is the founder and CEO of Chainbrain. Chainbrain is a no-code business intelligence tool that enables users to search and create visualizations from blockchain data effortlessly. And in this podcast, he talks a bit about Marissa's background, having been competing in fencing at NYU, and also being part of the Israeli national team. And then she talks a bit about her experience from transitioning from being a Web2 data scientist to launching Chainbrain. So if you're interested in Chainbrain or just her background, I would recommend checking out the podcast, which is already in the chat. Thank you so much, Juan. Super fast. Really appreciate that. And that is it for opening remarks. And if Anna is here, she is far away with our regularly scheduled Repo Watch.
Thank you, Abel, and sorry for the delay in joining. Okay, so today on Repo Watch, on the execution layer clients, we have had a new release of Get. So this is release 1.12.0. This release contains quite a few breaking changes. So it drops support for proof of work, which means that it cannot be used anymore with proof of work based private chains or as an upstream library for projects depending on ETH hash proof of work. In GraphQL API, all numeric values are now encoded as hex strings, and the internal GraphQL UI was updated to version 2.0. And in regards to the move from using LevelDB to Pebble, Get now defaults to using Pebble as a backend if no existing database is found. So if a previous LevelDB database exists, Get will keep using that. And if you must have a level databases, for some compatibility reasons, you can force Get to use those with the db.backend equals LevelDB flag. There have also been a lot of bug fixes in this release, some that are mentionable. So preventing Pebble from shutdown panic, fixing flat call tracer crasher. Sorry, some of these English and accents are not always the best, but okay. And fixing crash on querying finalized blocks. So if you're updating to this version, please make sure to check all of the release notes before upgrading.
I have a question before you go to the next topic. Does this move from Pebble, from whatever LevelDB to Pebble thing imply like no support for archive nodes? Because I know they wanted to drop archive node support, but I don't know if this move also disables that or not.
There was no mention in the release notes about archive node support.
All right.
So I'm not.
It's good to know.
Okay. Okay. Then we have also had a new Firehose Ethereum release. This is version 1.4.3. This release brings an update to substreams to version 1.1.4, which includes changes. So it changes the module hash computation implementation to allow reusing caches across substreams that import other substreams as a dependency. It has faster shutdowns of requests that fail deterministically, and it fixes memory leak in RPC calls. Again, this release comes with a warning. So the upgrade procedure applies if substreams deployment topologies include both tier 1 and tier 2 processes. So just like the previous release, if you have defined somewhere in your config value substream tier 2 is true, then this applies to you. Otherwise, you can ignore the upgrade procedure. So the components in this release should be deployed simultaneously to both tier 1 and tier 2, or users will end up with backend errors saying that some partial files are not found. These errors will be resolved when both tiers are upgraded. And thank you for commenting here, Matthew. He's saying he hasn't tried this new release, but planning to roll that out later today. Please let us know how you get on with this release. We have had a new release for Nethermind, so 1.18.2, and this release revises the timestamp and fork-specific feature activations of the 𝗨𝗀 hard fork, and is a must-have replacement for any 𝗨 network operators using the previous version, which is 1.18.1. We have had a new release for Avalanche, so 1.10.2. This is a backwards compatible release to 1.10.0. It is optional but encouraged, and the supported plugin version for this release is version 26. We have also had a new release on Arbitrum Nitro, so version 2.1.0 beta 1. This release adds built-in support for consensus version 10.1 validation for L3 chains, and adds support for running the block validators as a separate process for the main Nitro node compared to the previous alpha release. And this is all we have for the execution layer clients this week. Please let us know if you have any comments or anything you'd like to share with us. And I'll move on to consensus layer clients. Here, actually, we haven't had any new releases, so this is it for this week. Over to you, Juan.
Thanks, Anna. Okay, getting into Protocol Watch, we have first form governance, 𝗨𝗨𝗂𝗪52. This is timeline and requirements to increase rewards in L2. There's a comment from Jim regarding the voting for the council, as well as a request to improve the basically usability of the MD, the documentation regarding the how should you configure stuff, which is currently for mainnet and testnet and 𝗨𝗨, basically to expand it for also the L2s, which would be Arbitrum 1 and Arbitrum 𝗨𝗨. There's also a PR from Payne to kind of like address this necessity, which is also linked in the thread, in the forum thread. Getting to forum research, we have an update. Yeah, thanks Payne for the PR. We have an update on the Web3 data pipelines using subgraphs with file data sources thread. It's basically a few questions that were brought to Craig, mainly regarding like how can we trust the data, the verifiability, and other stuff regarding the data for the pipelines. Next, we have so if you're interested in that particular thread, there's kind of like a really nice set of questions that you could probably get some feedback also on that thread, that'd be great. And next up, we have the contracts. There's quite a few contracts PRs regarding open Zeppelin audits. So basically addressing some of the audits for exponential rebates, as well as some other PRs regarding the work that has been done for the L2 transfer tools, previously known as the migration tools. So yeah, that's pretty much it for contracts. Again, those are all linked in the agenda. So if you're interested in any of those, you can go check them out. And next, for network subgraphs, we do have a new release. It's a minor release. Mainly, it adds what we call SBS or SPS detection. This is for substream-powered subgraphs or substream-backed subgraphs. This basically allows you to, for any subgraph entity in the core network subgraph, you will have a flag that says powered by substreams, and it basically tells you if that subgraph is powered by substreams. This is taken from the manifest itself, so it is dependent on IPFS, unfortunately. So if there's some issues with the IPFS node, there might be like false negatives, but for the most part, it should be working okay. There's also, in this minor fix, there are two, in this minor release, there are two minor fixes, mainly to the workflow deployment process, which was, it was having issues with the IPFS versus no IPFS versions. It was basically generating the same deployment hash for both and causing issues with the hosted service. That's now fixed, and it's also, there's also fixed regarding the L2 retriable ticket address. So making sure that the retriable ticket address is working properly for both testnet and mainnet. And that's pretty much it for the Protocol Watch. So I'm going to hand it over to Abel now.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Juan. Appreciate the update there. And also thank you so much, Anna, for the Repo Watch update. Cool. So as we did last week, we have a bit of an open agenda today. But I just wanted to follow up on a few things based on last week's conversation before we get started. So I'm not sure if Anna is here, but Anna, yes, Anna from On-Chain Solutions DAO asked about an update on 𝗟𝗶 52, and I responded to her with a message, but I'll share it here for everyone, just for the benefit of disseminating this information to everyone. And essentially the update there is that the Edgeno team have been making great progress on 𝗟𝗶 46, which is a precursor to 𝗟𝗶 52, and there will be more updates coming in the coming weeks. So if you have any thoughts, concerns, anything, please do pop them in the forum there, so the team is fully informed about your particular thoughts on the subject. And then also I'm going to go ahead and share the agenda, just so people can have a look at the updates that Juan and Anna have just mentioned there. Last week we had a conversation about support for indexers in Discord, and there were some completely valid things that people brought up. And I just wanted to inform everyone that we're thinking about this internally, and we are going to try to make some strides towards addressing some of these issues. As you can see, there's a lot more core developers here in today's call, and so I wanted to provide everyone the opportunity to have an open format. If you have any underlying questions that you guys have that need answering from any sort of core developer, this is a fantastic opportunity to have those questions be answered. And so yeah, if you have any questions, thoughts, topics that you want to cover, the floor is yours. So I will put myself on mute, and if anyone has any thoughts, please take it away. See Matthew typing. That is a great question. So is anyone who is close to substreams available to speak to this in the room right now? If not, then I can try to get that question answered and follow up in next week's IOH. Anyone here that can speak to that?
I can talk to that. So substreams support, more fulsome substream support is obviously in the upcoming GraphNode release as a new feature, as a new sort of subgraph based feature. The substream-based subgraphs will need to go through the usual sort of ratification process from the council. So I believe that Alex from Stringfast was looking to sort of put together some of the sort of supporting documents for that. Obviously, there are differing levels of support. Obviously, maybe what will definitely be the case is that the feature will be experimental. Question obviously is whether is when indexing rewards are sort of enabled for substream-based subgraphs, and the sort of threshold would be around sort of having sufficient indexes running the software, but then also essentially some assurances and validations around the determinism and I guess consistency of the of that new feature. So that's like in line with any other feature that's added to subgraphs. But obviously it's quite a new new technology, so we probably just need a bit more than if we just added a new sort of type of handler or whatever to the to GraphNode's existing execution. So I'd say soon, but I don't know if we have a specific timeline that we're committing to right now.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Adam, there for the update. Seems like we have follow-up here. Okay, yeah, since it's kind of the same topic, we can go with that, and then after that we can respond to Anna's question about MIPS. So any particular thoughts there? Anyone? Who's running Firehose right now out of all the indexers in the group? Okay, seems like Daniel is running. Payne has killed his. Curious to know why that is the case, Payne.
Well, it was running on the server alongside 𝗟𝗀𝗀𝗧, and I think, I mean, my main reason to killing it is eating up resources for nothing, basically. And yeah, I probably want to have 𝗟𝗀𝗀𝗧 Firehose instead of 𝗨𝗀𝗀𝗃 Firehose, simply due to not having to double up the space for something that's not needing double the space. You know what I mean?
I think there's definitely, to Matthew's point, there is a sort of a bit of a chicken and egg thing, and like the point Payne's making is obviously that if you've not got utility for fires or substreams, you wouldn't necessarily keep it running. So I think that's where MIPS was an interesting input, just in terms of demonstrating sort of capability rather than necessarily like active, like whether people are actively running it today. I think that that's more going to take a bunch of inputs rather than saying, okay, you need to have X number of indexes running it for it to meet the threshold. There'll be more just sufficient confidence that there are people across the community who'd be able to operate the full stack.
That makes sense. Seems like there's more feedback. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say I'm interested in Daniel, in your experience with around the version of GraphNode that you're running, version of substreams as well, because there've been some recent releases there.
Okay, seems like Daniel hasn't checked out the new releases. Please do, and then feel free to report back potentially next IOH if you can. That'll be awesome. Marc-Andre is running Firehose, the last that I know. Okay. Does he have any feedback on Firehose or any thoughts that you can share on behalf of him, Matthew? Cool. Well, thank you so much, guys, for chipping in on that one there. Just to loop back to Anna's original question, which is what is the deadline for submitting feedback forms for phase 4 of MIPS? Pedro's not on the call today, but I wonder, Nick, if you have any response to that. If not, I can try to get a follow-up to that for next week.
Well, I realized this morning after someone pinged me that we didn't add the deadline, and so we'll post that a little bit later, but certainly be working on those right now, and let's get those done. I'll post a formal deadline here shortly. Just want to make sure with the team that it's correct.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nick. There you have it, Anna. Hopefully that's useful. Cool. Awesome. Well, seems like a thread could open up about Aragon. Would you like to comment on that further, Daniel?
Yeah, so I was just talking about Aragon quite a bit earlier today with Gary and Jeff, and yeah, I mean, we haven't seen that many issues with Aragon alone on neither of the chains that we run. I know Jeff had some issues trying to run multiple Aragons for multiple chains on the same machine. But yeah, that's a whole different topic. Daniel says that it requires attention all the time, can halt for unknown reasons. Never had that ever since fixing Polygon issues with on Aragon. Basically, just the last few releases. Never had an issue. For Ethereum mainnet, we never touched it for at least 2-3 months. Whenever that was the last hard fork, we just upgraded before, literally hours before, and that was it. We don't touch anything Aragon related. Everything just runs completely normal. And I can say the same for Gary as well, because he didn't say he didn't mention any issues. Same for Jim. I don't know if he's on the call, but yeah, he also didn't have any issues, especially with Ethereum mainnet. So I don't see why you guys are having issues with your Aragon nodes, but maybe you can try to share your setups so we can try to investigate. Especially the file system. I'm curious if you're having issues on ZFS or just ext4 or whatever else you're running. Because I know there were some issues a while ago with ZFS. Matthew, what specs is your Polygon machine? Well, whatever it was when you tried to run Polygon on Aragon there, because I'm doing. I think we have a whole dedicated machine for this. It runs just Polygon alone on there, and it seems to just keep up the chain head with no inputs from outside. We do have like 16 cores, 32 threads on it though, and 128 gigs of RAM, and 2 NVMe SSDs in RAID 0 or 3. So basically, yeah, it's a huge machine, but yeah, it does its job. I think if you're trying to run Polygon on SSDs instead of NVMe. Well, SATA SSDs instead of NVMe. You run into issues. Oh, okay. So it's close to similar setup that we have. That's weird. Is there anything else running there? Or was it just dedicated for Polygon? Okay. Well, that's weird. That's very weird. Yeah, you should. I can just give you my exact setup that way I have. Maybe you can try running the exact same config. Yeah, it took me a while to shape the systemd config as well, but like now that I have it running and it's the one that I've started syncing from scratch, I literally never had issues with it. Maybe it's because I synced from scratch with those specific settings. I know Mark Andre from ellithra helped me with some of those. And yeah, let's continue in the Aragon channel after this, and I can share my my setup there.
Amazing. That's what IOH is for. That's really good to see this this trading of notes there. Appreciate that, Payne. Do you want to ask your questions, Anfat, as it relates to the MIPS program? Ah, okay. So the MIPS program is now completed. It's concluded. But yeah, it seems like you've reached out to people in relation to this problem. I would continue to follow up. The team is very busy, but you know, they will get back to you. But I mean, the program's done now, so I'm not sure how useful an answer to that would be. But I would continue to follow up because I'm sure they'll get back to you to conclude those issues. And I see Nick typing as well. Yeah, okay, Nick's gonna respond to you. Seems like a few people in the chat have got the same problem. Amazing. Thank you so much, Nick, for stepping up there to respond to these questions. Wonderful. If anyone else has any MIPS related questions, feel free to ask in the comments or unmute your mic, or we can also speak about other stuff as well. This is the opportunity to, ask questions from your fellow indexers, and so or the core devs. So please do take the opportunity if you have any questions. Daniel's just asked a follow-up question. I'll leave that to Nick to respond to. He's currently typing to that question. Awesome. Thank you, Nick.
I have a question on a different topic entirely, so let me know when there's an appropriate time to discuss.
Yeah, sure, fire away. It seems like Nick's handling the questions as it relates to MIPS in the chat, so feel free to fire away.
Yeah, so I was just curious how many people from here are running their infrastructure at home and what their setups are in terms of like hardware and how you're managing your costs and everything.
It's a great question. It'd be awesome to hear people's thoughts there.
Because to be honest, if we want real decentralization, we would be running everything at home so we don't depend on AWS going down or Hetzner banning our accounts. And one good step towards that, I feel like it's probably the subgraph pruning and yeah, maybe some option for indexers to run only pruned only subgraphs basically. Just run a fast ETH node, or sorry, full ETH node, and yeah, just serve the tip of the chain because like most of the requests are tip of the chain anyway. I see Wayne saying only 50 megabits uplink. Well, yeah, that would be an issue, but I think only if you have like a pretty huge indexer, honestly, in terms of like query traffic, or if you're unfortunate enough to be the only indexer on a really queried subgraph. I see Paka saying starting to look into solar powered options to make at home more feasible long term. I do have uh, around 22 kilowatts installed here, and I'm looking forward to how this works honestly, because right now I have it limited to like current usage, and I don't have any servers here. So yeah, I'm cooking for free basically, and washing my clothes for free. But yeah, that's about where it stops. For now, at least. Well, I see what you're typing there, Sake Machine. I think it's a good idea, honestly, especially if you can manage to get some V4 Xeons, which are running DDR4 simply because um, they consume less power. Could be a decent setup. So if I have a bunch of Dells at home, an R730XD, which I'm running as a NAS with two CPUs in, and another one. It's a Dell workstation with an R7910, something like that. Um, yeah, there's a lot of cheap options. You don't even need to go 2690 V4, honestly, because it's gonna be extremely loud. But you can also do some L versions as well. I know those 85 watts or 75 watts are decent. I see Paka asking, so far, what has been the biggest surprise when building your own? Um, So right now I didn't order any of the servers for the graph infrastructure yet. It's very soon to come. But I've done the networking part, and it was a mess because I wanted like so I have a whole bunch of Ubiquiti Unify switches, and unfortunately their gateway slash router part is quite shit. So I ended up using like building my own router from a Dell machine, and that was the biggest surprise slash hindering, whatever you want to call it. And it took a while to finally nail, and I'm sure I'll find more stuff to worry about later when the servers arrive. So in terms of like infrastructure for the graph, I was thinking to just buy one big Zen 4 EPYC dual CPU with like 3 TB of RAM and 360-ish terabytes of NVMe, and just slap everything there, all the RPCs, all the archive nodes, all the indexer components, and just um, yeah, put everything on different pools slash VDEVs, whatever, and yeah, call it a day. Yeah, I see. Steak machine. The noise is the main hurdle. That's true. That's true. Especially if you don't have like a dedicated space to put your rack cabinets in. I see Mac Hundred saying, "Home is good, but redundancy gets expensive. Uplink, emergency power, etc." In my case, I'm fortunate enough to have like very cheap internet here, and power the emergency power one I've sold with solar panels and soon TM batteries. Which the batteries have like a really cool feature because you can, well, during the day you obviously charge them, and during the night you discharge, so you're using the stuff from batteries, but you can stop them at like 50% and charge them again from the grid. So if the grid goes down later on during the night, you still have some juice left in your batteries, which is cool. But yeah. And I was having a debate with Sebastian from Sixth Grade, like what should we use in terms of like a backup solution. So I was looking at those like, I don't know, 48 HDD backup solutions, but I'm just worried about the power consumption of those. Like having 48 15 watts each running all the time, it's yeah, well, it's not that much of as a dual EPYC whatever server, but yeah, still spinning Rust takes a lot of power, just like Mark Andre says. And going with SSDs for like half a petabyte of backups is a no-no. I don't have that kind of money. I see. Steak machine life hacks to connect to neighbor's outlet. That could work. Nuclear power at home could be a solution maybe in like 10 or 20 years, because I've seen there are like a bunch of like mini power plants taking shape right now. It's still in research, but yeah. I see Baka saying that he's interested in ongoing talks, workshop discussions about setting up infra at home. I'm totally up for that. You know, I had some thoughts in the Indexer DAO side of things that I wanted to do some talks and videos and whatnot. I just simply didn't have enough time. Like I was like pinned with everything that I have to do here at the house. But yeah, hopefully I'll have had some time very soon. Can you explain how Cloudflare can be useful there, Mark? Because it adds latency, yeah, as Daniel says. That's interesting. How much does it cost though? Because if it costs you a kidney and a half, then oh, it's free. Okay. Oh, the tunnel one. Yeah, I've read about it. I used ngrok for some home applications. But it's the same thing. Yeah. Dude, it sucks to be the only one with a microphone or being able to speak. So we need music. Maybe next time, Abel, we can find the bot to have like a lo-fi whatever on the background.
Yeah, that could be a good shout. If anyone is struggling to speak, like would like to unmute the okay, I am not in a place where I can speak freely. Oh, okay. But if you have the option to speak freely, and would like to let me know, I can actually grant permissions. So if anyone wants to speak, let
I
me know.
don't
But
think you
yeah,
need to grant permissions, only to like have video presentation. Honestly, I
um
don't remember.
I think so, like the Discord permissions got refreshed, and so if you need to speak, I'm gonna have to give you like a role. Um
Okay.
yeah, so it's a bit annoying, but
Yeah,
uh
next time around we're gonna have a lo-fi bot. That's for sure.
yeah, for sure. That would be a good shout. Just to kind of have some nice background music.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll look into that. It's a good shout. If you have any bots in mind, let me know. I can also do some research on it as
I
well.
don't, but like we'll find something. That's I bet the internet is full.
Yeah, I'm sure there is one. Yeah. That's the lo-fi. Yeah, that's the lo-fi GIF. I like it.
State Machine says we can definitely have an IOH dedicated to how internet works, routing mechanism and so on. Would you want to hold some workshop based on this? Because it would be fairly cool, actually. See, someone's trying to speak, but I couldn't hear you properly.
I think Steak Machine was trying to speak.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
I finally found that push the talk button. It was an external keyboard, so
Awesome.
didn't use it for a while. Yeah, so basically, if anybody interested in like how internet works, how can we optimize the path for the internet packet that will go from user to your indexer, and what mechanism would be used, like how you get into the gateway, how CDN works, how can we optimize like Anycast routing works, like how can you use Cloudflare. We definitely can think of how can we present it if anybody curious about it.
That would be brilliant, dude. Honestly, maybe we can all work together to have like a sort of like awesome presentation, so we can post it on YouTube for other people as well, not just for graph indexers and whatnot.
Yeah, because we can find, just need to think of depth of this, because we can try to touch the ground around like what is RIPE or ARIN, how you dedicate internet resources, like how like subnets work, how many subnets can be routed in a single way or something like that.
Yep. I would absolutely love this.
That would be a fantastic shout. How do you guys feel about potentially getting that set up for next week? I can help coordinate and facilitate that if you guys are keen for that.
I think that's way too short of a time for this kind of discussion, honestly.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks. How long do you think you guys need for this?
I think 2 or 3 weeks are fine, but I'll be going to Prague. That's basically like a week wasted for me, which I won't be able to help.
Yeah, 3-4 weeks, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well. Yeah. I'll message you guys separately after this. Actually, no. I'll make a group, and then we can coordinate on dates and stuff, and then yeah, get that sorted, because that would be an awesome show. I think that'd be really cool.
Sounds good.
Amazing. Thanks so much for suggesting Steak Machine, and thanks so much, Payne, for jumping in to get involved. And yeah, Alex, if you want to host that one as well, let me know. That would be a funny episode. Speaking of QoS, internally we're working on a dashboard that we're going to be releasing pretty soon, so that we can have a look at QoS week on week and discuss that, because yeah, that's super important for the network. Like, all of us who are indexing are contributing to ensuring QoS is high. So yeah, it's going to be a new segment in IOH very shortly.
You know what's funny, Anton? When ChatGPT first released the crappy 3.5 version, the free one, I just went there and asked some random question about like how to set up the graph infrastructure, and the ChatGPT bot just gave me like a very rough Docker Compose stack that it took from one of my repos. I don't know how it got there, but like it had information about the index agent and some other parts, which was funny as hell.
Have you tried asking the same question with ChatGPT-4?
Nope.
It'd be interesting to do that. I think I might try that after this call.
Wow. Mark says ChatGPT explained to me some parts of the graph note code base. That's awesome, dude. Was it GPT-4 or the crappy old version? That's awesome, didn't know. You still remember, yeah. Yeah, yeah, it definitely can. But like I wonder if it's if it can only find those very obvious ones. Vince asked, has anyone tried to write a subgraph with it? That would be awesome, honestly, if it works. Maybe we can run our own implementation and just teach him how subgraphs can be built and what to look for, um, and try to do something like that. Maybe it's something semiotic can handle. Alexis says the problem with GPT is that it's particularly good at being convincing, not necessarily correct. That's true. Seg Machine says you can write a plugin now and make it work with the graph docs so it can really retrieve data on the fly. Yeah, that's true, but it still wouldn't be able to like build your subgraph, I think. Interesting. Was that GPT-3 or 4, Alexis? Oh, okay. Huh.
That's still pretty impressive. Um, like for that experimentation for GPT-4, that's yeah.
Yeah, being 99% correct. That's better than zero, right? But better than just having everything written from scratch by you. Um, that's definitely something.
Yeah. Has anyone tried any other like Bard and other LLMs?
I saw the initial presentation of Bard and I just laughed when that thing happened on stage and Google shares dropped like 5% in an instant.
Yeah, it wiped 100. I think it was $100 billion off the
Yeah.
market. It's insane. Yeah, but yeah, it's still not that great. Yeah.
Vince said it would be really interesting to use it to standardize subgraphs where one could just go to a site and say what you want thing, giving it self-graphing and monolithic standard. That would be awesome, honestly. That would be very awesome. I wonder if Masari can try to look into that. Yeah, Masari GPT, exactly.
Oh, that's interesting, Steak Machine. What's been the success there, if at all?
Not at all.
I was expecting that, honestly.
Because it doesn't allow you to give a lot of lines of code, and it's very limited.
Yeah.
And I think it was about maybe 20 subgraphs that was fit in the chat box, and it's just made a table and give some random data. But it really works with this with the data, so you can give it just JSON from GraphQL, and it will make a table from its data. He's really good at parsing the data and make some assumptions based on the data. So probably if the context would be a little bit bigger, then it could work.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I never actually used the allocation optimizer. The one that I'm using is built by Vincent from Data Nexus. His it's more of a manual work, but I do prefer that instead of like having something to run and not verify on an actual GUI. I mean, I can copy paste the link. This is what I'm using. It's super cool.
Hope said something quite interesting. I'd be interested to see how that goes, how that pans out. Could be an interesting experiment for sure. All right, I see we're at the top of the hour, but the chat seems to be on fire. People are responding. So um, let's go ahead and wrap with the recording. But I will say that for anyone who wants to continue the conversation, you're more than welcome to in the chat or here in the call. Thank you all for joining today's edition of Index Office Hours. and we look forward to having you all again next week for the next edition of Index Office Hours. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. Let's end the recording. And if folks want to stick around, you're more than welcome to, and continue the conversation.